and welcome back to another edition of Running with James. Today we give you our full review of the Asics Hyper Speed. Before we jump into it, before we get started, please make sure that you smash that subscribe button, click that bell so that you can know about all things Running with James. So today we're going to talk about the Asics Hyper Speed, and so this shoe really is a racing flat. I would like to say it's an old school, new school racing flat. So it's kind of that traditional racing flat in that it's lightweight, has a low drop, but doesn't have all that crazy technology in it. And so because of that, the price kind of reflects that. And so today we're going to jump into this. We're going to talk about the upper, the midsole, and the outsole, and everything in between, all of our likes, our dislikes. And you'll know by the end of this whether we think this is a must-have.
Change your mind, change your life.
Jumping into the upper is a engineered mesh upper with a significant amount of ventilation holes built all throughout the upper, including these little triangles on the back of the heel counter to actually help increase airflow. Now it's a seamless upper, basically what just means that you could wear this shoe without a sock and not really have to worry too much about getting blisters or anything of that nature. It has an unattached tongue, so that tongue's just flopping around in there, and I don't know why this day and age everybody does not attach their tongue. But the only issues really that I had with the tongue is that sometimes you just kind of wiggling it to make sure that it stays flat on your foot. No problem with the laces whatsoever. Plenty of room in the toe box, so it's a pretty ample toe box. Even though it's a racing flat, it wasn't super narrow or anything of that nature. The depth or the height of the toe box as well gave you plenty of room, so it didn't feel like you were being stuffed in this thing whatsoever. The heel counter is actually quite substantial. So usually for a racing flat or any kind of racing shoe, they tend to really tend to skimp on the material because they're trying to make the shoe as light as possible. But this heel counter is serious. So you see there's plenty of material, plenty of padding, didn't have any kind of rubbing, didn't have any kind of issues as far as the lockdown goes. So I will say for me, I was actually quite a bit, I really do enjoy this upper. I think it's a very cool upper. It makes it lighter, and then was extremely comfortable from beginning to end, whether it's a cold day, hot day, whatever. I really did enjoy the upper. All right, moving on to the midsole. The midsole is simply an EVA midsole. Now, I will say that it has plenty of drop. Now, usually for a racer, they'll tend to be anywhere from like a 4mm drop to like a 6mm drop. This is actually right in between. It's a 5mm drop. And so I've seen a couple different things, and maybe it's based off of sizing, but what I've seen feel to be the most consistent in the stack height is a 21mm stack height in the heel with a 16mm stack height in the forefoot, and it actually feels about like that. So I wouldn't say that it's like really maximalist shoe. Obviously it's kind of somewhere in between, but usually racing flats tend to be much thinner on the stack. So if this had been like, say, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, this would have been a maximalist racer, right? So definitely gives you enough padding, so it's a very comfortable EVA. It does have some spring to it, has some pop to it. Probably not something I would wear for a long run. Just doesn't have enough protection, but it does have some pop to it. So I've used this at the track. I've used this when I use my drills. I've also used this on some different workouts, things of that nature. So you do feel like you can go fast in this, and I think mainly because it's the lightweightness of the shoe itself. Comes in about 8 ounces for my men's size 10.5. But it does have a little bit of pop to it, has some spring. Specifically, I feel like the thing that helps it more than anything is this roll. They call it the guide sole technology, which is basically just kind of like, you can see here, it's kind of an arch that starts at the midfoot and goes to the front of the foot that kind of helps spring you through, kind of helps roll you through your gait cycle. So the EVA, it's an EVA material, nothing special, nothing wrong with it. I got what I got out of it, and it was okay. Moving to the outsole is Asics high abrasion rubber, and basically it's rubber. It's strategically placed. They have a lot of it on here. They probably didn't have to put as much rubber on here as they did, but I assume they did some of that basically to kind of increase the longevity or the life of the shoe itself. ran it on wet material, ran it on turf, ran it on the track, on concrete, and it was sticky. It did what it needed to do, so I had no complaints whatsoever with the outsole of the shoe. All right, so what is our verdict? Do we like the Asics Hyper Speed? Now, I will tell you, for what I'm using this shoe for, it is something that I use on some of my speed days when I go to the track. It's days when I'm going to the track, or maybe I'm going and doing a bunch of drills or doing strides. I definitely will pull this shoe out of my quiver. Now, for an extended period of time, I've been doing a lot of my speed work, because I've been doing like 2,000 meter repeats and longer tempo style runs. So I've been using my race day shoes. But what I found is I pulled this out a few times, and I found that I actually do like using this on some of those longer speed days, because I feel like it helps to strengthen my feet, helps to strengthen my calves, and it really does give me really good ground contact. Which just basically means I'm more aware of my running form when I'm out there trying to run faster. Now, that means that I'm kind of using this as a tool to help me with my running form, because it makes me more aware. Now, I definitely have to work a little bit harder because it doesn't have these super critical foams, right? It doesn't have a carbon fiber plate in it or anything like that. So you're definitely having to use more of your own musculature. You're having to work a little bit harder to do it, but it's a pretty lightweight shoe. Now, it's heavier than a lot of, the racers that are out there, but here's the key. It doesn't have a carbon plate. It doesn't have a Zoom X. It doesn't have like any kind of special it's just a plain EVA foam. It's not a super high stack height. This is a racing flat. So for what I use it for, I use it to work out in sometimes. So I'll do it when we're doing HIIT workouts, things of that nature. When I know it's gonna be a little 30-40 minute little speed session, I'll use it. So for what I'm using it for, I am enjoying the shoe. Now, I probably wouldn't race in this shoe, and I'm definitely not gonna race anything over like a 10K in this shoe, just because I feel like you probably would get beat up just a little too much. But here's the rub. This shoe's 90 bucks. That's it. It's a very inexpensive shoe for what you get. You're definitely gonna get life out of the shoe. I have about 75 plus miles in this shoe. And then I also just wear this shoe, right? So I'll just put on some jeans and put this shoe on. So I have a lot of wear and tear on the shoe. And the shoe looks basically brand new. It's still even clean, and half my shoes are never clean. So for me, for what I'm using it for, and for what I feel like Asics is trying to do, it's a great entry-level racing shoe with a great price. And they come some pretty decent colors. I assume they're probably gonna offer some more. Now, this is a shoe that they've brought back. I think it's like the 7th or 8th iteration of it. And you know what this shoe really reminded me of? It reminded me of the Meta Racer without a carbon fiber plate. This is what I said. I said if they should make this shoe, they should make the Meta Racer just like that without the plate in it. And this would be a cool, like perfect just shoe to have. And that's exactly what they did. So I'm in love with this shoe. So for us, the Asics Hyperspeed is a must-have. All right, guys, thanks for coming in today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the review. If you did, as always, give us a thumbs up. And don't forget this, always remember this, when you change your mind, you can change your life. We'll see you again next week. We got a ton of shoe reviews in the queue right now. So some great stuff we're trying on right now. A lot of shoes, a lot of trail shoes, because it's that time of the year to get out in the woods. So we hope you're getting out there. Whatever it may be, have you tried the Asics? We want to know, what shoes are you wearing right now? What's your favorite shoe right now? Is it maybe the Asics Hyperspeed? Is it maybe the new Asics Super shoe that they've come out with? Have you even seen that shoe? Let us know down in the comments what your favorite shoe is right now. Thanks for coming in, guys. We'll see you next week. Have a great day.